Earlier that day, a boy named Kazuya Kagami had a dream. He was at a shrine at night under the moonlight. He saw a girl with blue hair wearing a kimono, and he begged her not to go. He reached out with his arms and squished something. It felt soft and squishy. Well, that's one way to start your day. The dream ended, and he woke up in his classroom with his hand on a girl's chest, which he didn't mean to do. The girl, Chisato Chikeshi, got really angry and started hitting him. His friends Osamu Osanai and Shiru Shiramin just laughed and watched him suffer. Friends who laugh at your misfortune are true friends, right? But that was the easy part. After that, he had to sit through a very long lecture that felt like it lasted forever. Ah, the dreaded never-ending lecture. We've all been there. About an hour later, he finally escaped from Chisato. He went to the school's rooftop to be alone and sighed as he thought about his strange dream. He thought maybe it had something to do with his attachment to his late mother's obi kimono sash. He carried it with him everywhere because it smelled like cherry blossoms, which reminded him of his dear mother. Ah, the power of scent and nostalgia. As the sun goes down, it's time to leave for home. But just before he can go, he notices a wig on the floor and decides to stay away from it. Unfortunately, the wig doesn't want to stay still and suddenly comes to life, growing longer and trapping his legs. The wig has him stuck to the floor. Someone needs to teach that wig some manners. He yells for help, but no one can hear him. Feeling hopeless, he let out one last cry for help. Surprisingly, some mysterious power sets him free, and a voice in his head warns him about the wig, calling it an amasobi. However, it's too late, and the wig pushes him off the building. He falls quickly toward the ground, and in that moment, all he can do is accept his fate. The ground is approaching fast. Gravity's not on his side today. Out of the blue, a cushion shows up underneath to grab him. It saves him, and the cushion surprisingly turns into a living thing. A young woman with blue hair pops out from the threads. She says hello to him like she's known him for a while. Well, that's one way to make an entrance. However, Kazuya doesn't know who she is, and this makes the girl sad. Suddenly, another student shows up and interrupts them. Kazuya tells the student to stay safe, but he doesn't realize that the girl is the one causing the danger. She tries to attack Kazuya, but the obi character saves him. The girl is annoyed that Kazuya thinks she's a monster, even though she's at Tsugumomo. She dangles him over the wig monster on purpose and asks if he wants to be her servant or be eaten. Kazuya quickly decides to be her servant. Well, it's better than being eaten, right? So, the Tsugumomo and the wig monster start fighting, but it's not a fair fight. The Tsugumomo uses the obi skillfully to defend herself and avoid the needles, but one of them hits Kazuya's arm. This makes her angry, and she turns her obi into a drill called spiral weave to cut the wig without hurting the student. Later, when the cursed wig's owner is asleep, a strange girl tells him that the wig is an amasoji. It's something that comes from a person's strong wishes. The wig's abilities are a result of how much the student likes Kazuya. He feels good about it, but then the girl tells him that Kazuya is actually a boy who dresses like a girl. Plot twist. Gender-bending shenanigans, anyone? She also jokes that without her help, Kazuya might have been in trouble until the amasoji's wish was fulfilled. Then, the Tsugumomo disappears right when a teacher shows up. When Kazuya gets home, he says hello to his older sister Kasumi, and then he goes straight to his room upstairs. Even though he tries really hard, he can't remember the strange girl, and it's all a mystery. Why did she seem to know him so well? He reads some books about Tsugumomo and remembers that his mother's obi vanished when she appeared. This makes him think that maybe the girl has something to do with it, but he hasn't figured it out completely yet. Kazuya has a strange dream again tonight. He hears the words, "Don't go," over and over, like a broken record. This makes him wake up feeling very nervous and sweaty. He looks around and finds a lump in his bedsheet. When he opens it, he sees a mysterious girl sleeping next to him. He screams, and people from far away can hear it. His scream makes Kasumi hurry upstairs to see what's wrong with him. At the same time, he quickly wraps the girl in the sheets to hide her behind the bed. Kasumi enters the room, ready to defend her brother from anyone bothering him. But when she gets there, she sees that he's all by himself. Since Kazuya says nothing happened, his worried sister leaves without any problems. When Kasumi leaves, the angry girl quickly spins Kazuya around. She wants to punish him because he didn't show respect to his supposed master, who saved his life 2 times. After that, the girl becomes calm and prepares to tell her name, but Kazuya interrupts because he already knows it. She is a Tsugumomo made from his late mother's obi. He can't remember when he first met her, but it makes sense based on what happened at school. He thinks that the girl's obi smells just like his mom's cherry blossom scent. The girl says she came from Aya Sakura, his late mother's special silk obi. Her name is Kuriha. They had agreed before that Kazuya would be her servant, so he tries to explain that he couldn't refuse back then, but he feels scared and gives in anyway. The weight of tradition and promises looms heavy in this supernatural tale. Settled. Kiriha is giving her servant his first tough task. He has to buy sweets from the convenience store. That's it, no tricks. Kiriha loves sweets so much that she gets really upset when Kazuya forgets to buy her favorite pudding. He goes back to the store right away to get it for her, and this makes her feel better, so the boy can finally go downstairs for dinner. He reminds Kiriha to be quiet while he's gone. Kasumi makes a tasty katsu dinner for the two of them. Sadly, their dinner keeps getting disturbed because Kiriha is causing a lot of noise upstairs. Kazuya manages to make his sister stop caring about the noise. He finishes eating and goes back to his room. It's a mess. He thinks Kiriha is gone and plans to take a bath. But when he goes to the bathroom, he's shocked to see Kiriha already bathing. Kazuya thinks she might get angry with him for walking in on her. He knows about common things that happen in anime. Surprisingly, Kiriha calmly asks if he's there to help her wash her back. Kazuya goes along with it, and they help each other bathe. It ends with Kiriha teasing him. She acts like he's still just a child. Later, Kiriha wants to share a bed with him like they used to when she was just a normal sash. Kazuya used to sleep with his mom's sash by his side. It's late at night, and Kiriha is asleep while Kazuya is awake, wondering why this weird thing feels normal. Maybe it's because of Kurita's familiar smell that comforts him. She holds on to him in her sleep, and he doesn't think he'll get any sleep tonight. The next morning, Kiriha wakes up before Kazuya and hears him talking in his sleep about a strange monster. She gets mad at him for being disrespectful and confesses that she broke his annoying alarm clock. Not just that, when Kazuya leaves for school, Kiriha insists on going with him. Worried she might act like his boss at school, Kazuya tricks her into becoming a regular belt. He puts the belt in a plastic bag, making Kiriha think it's to keep her clean. Then he places the belt in a box and ties it up. After that, Kazuya happily runs off, feeling triumphant because he managed to outsmart Kiriha, who he thought was his master. He ends up being late for school, and when he arrives, the class representative, Chisato, scolds him. Now during lunch break with Shiru and Osamu, Kazuya remembers the morning's events and can't help but giggle to himself. They start talking about a ghost they saw at school, but Kazuya thinks it's just a wig. Shiru daydreams about using it to impress girls. Chisato hears their silly ideas and gives both boys a smack on the head to teach them a lesson about their academic deadlines. Kazuya suddenly realizes he hasn't finished his work and panics, asking Osamu if he can copy his answers. Chisato catches him trying to cheat and takes him to the library to make sure he does his homework. This girl sure knows how to be strict. Academic integrity is serious business in Chisato's world. At the library, Chisato pushes Kazuya to do his homework. He decides to concentrate and gets absorbed in his work. Watching him like this reminds her of when they did homework together as kids. Her loving look shows that she has feelings for Kazuya. He thanks her for helping him in the past. Then she timidly offers to visit his house to help him study, like they used to. He wants to agree, but he's worried about Chisato meeting Kiriha, so he doesn't. After he finishes his work, Kazuya volunteers to bring the books back. Chisato goes back to class but finds the door locked. While Kazuya is putting the books away, Kiriha suddenly shows up and hits him for something he did earlier. When Kazuya screams, Chisato comes to see what happened. She finds Kazuya's face all swollen and bruised but doesn't see anyone else who could have done it. Kazuya tells her it's fine. They had a pretend boxing match with an imaginary friend. They try to open the door and windows, but they can't. They soon understand they're stuck inside, even if they try really hard. Then, Kiriha shows herself, but Kazuya is surprised because she isn't wearing anything under her skirt. Kazuya quickly takes her away to talk privately, but he gets more beatings. On a more serious note, Kiriha thinks that Tsugumomo is the one who trapped them. She also says there are two kinds of Tsugumomo. One comes from objects or tools after a long time, and they are called Tsugumomo. The intricacies of the supernatural world are starting to unravel. Things that get their power from human feelings are called anasoji. Tsugumomo like her have a full understanding of things, while anasoji are like babies who just got born and often make problems. Even though Kazuya is unsure, Kiriha tells Chisato that she's Kazuya's cousin. She messes up the story a bit, and that makes it obvious it's not true, especially to someone like Chisato. But now is not the time to talk about that. After explaining the situation to their childhood friend, Kiriha gives her and Kazuya kimono clasps made from her hair to find anasoji. But when they look, the clasps react not just to one or two books, but to a lot of them in the room. Kiriha gives up thinking and tries to break the door with her spiral weaves. Kazuya and Chisato can only watch in amazement. He knows he needs to explain things to Chisato later. Kiriha keeps hitting the windows hard until the barrier breaks. The group realizes they are in a big hall full of books, and the whole library is the problem. The books shoot different attacks at Kiriha and become a giant robot that chases them. It's like a school version of Transformers. The bookshelves make a moving maze. In all the confusion, Kiriha sees that the books are only attacking her and protecting Chisato. While fighting the robot to gain some time, Kiriha tells Kazuya to remember what he talked about with Chisato in the library. Kazuya talks about the part when Chisato wants to visit his house, and he says no. A conversation that's bound to be interesting, to say the least. That's all. Kiriha figures out that Chisato is the Amisogi's host. Her wish caused the Amisogi to go crazy. Kiriha tells Kazuya to make Chisato's wish come true. Kazuya does what she says and asks Chisato to come to his house to study. As soon as Chisato agrees, the library goes back to normal. At the same time, a strange woman in old-fashioned Japanese clothes watches all this from outside the library and then goes away silently. The next day, Chisato comes to Kazuya's household in pudding. She enters the room and finds the two of them sleeping beside each other by mistake. She gets worried, and Kazuya notices that Kiriha has broken another alarm clock. It's 1 p.m., so do they actually need an alarm clock? Eventually, Chisato apologizes for causing trouble with the Amisogi. Kiriha tells her not to feel guilty and explains that the Amisogi exists because of a curse called Malison. Malison is like when things get all messed up in the world, and it's really good at making people's wishes come true, even if it's not always a good thing. Usually, Malison isn't too strong, but if you don't handle it well, it can cause problems. Kiriha thinks that the local deity, Kukuri, is responsible for the strong Malison in the area. The next day at school, Kazuya gets a big surprise. Shiro comes in and gives him a strong dropkick. He says it's because of something bad that happened. Shiro tells Kazuya about a curvy woman who mistook him for Kazuya the day before. Even though he had a perfect drawing of what Kazuya looks like, she thought he was Kazuya. Shiro wanted to touch her big chest, so he lied and said Kazuya was his friend. He convinced her to have lunch with him. Shiro took her to a restaurant and said he'd pay for everything, but he got more than he expected when she ordered the whole menu. She earns respect from the staff and customers because she eats a lot. Shiro has a big bill because of this, and he thinks Kazuya is responsible. Kazuya doesn't know who Shiro is talking about, which makes Shiro angrier. Shiro challenges Kazuya to a bet for lunch. Meanwhile, the woman is in the building outside their classroom, listening to their conversation without them knowing. We find out that the woman's name is Kokyu, and she works as a servant at the Hakusen Shrine. Before, her boss scolded her for losing track of Kazuya when he treated her to a meal. She explained that she had nothing to eat except pests because the shrine's god wasn't very popular and they didn't get many donations. That's why she's currently at the school, watching her target, and she's been told very clearly to only approach him after school. She mustn't cause any trouble, but perhaps her hungry stomach has different plans. Hunger can be a powerful motivator, even when you're on a mission. During lunchtime, all the students shout because they see that their lunches are missing. They start blaming each other, but no one admits to taking the food. Just when they think they won't find the person responsible, Kokyu comes in with stolen lunchboxes and starts eating them. She reveals herself as the thief. Shiro remembers her from yesterday and asks her to give him money or let him touch her chest as compensation. It might sound strange, but Kokyu chooses the second option because it doesn't cost her any money. Shiro gets excited and moves to complete the deal, but Chisato hits him just as he's about to do it. He gets to touch a bit, but let's move on. Kokyu is doing her job now, and that's to bring Kazuya with her. Then, Kiriha turns into a human in front of everyone to stop her. But Kokyu isn't bothered and even insults Kiriha by calling her a useless spirit, a towel girl who can't join. Well, she didn't just cause a commotion, she turned it into a big show. Kiriha gets really mad, and her power starts to come out, almost causing a big problem. Kazuya tries really hard to make her calm down, and he succeeds in getting her to solve the problem without fighting. Kiriha then tells Kokyu to have an arm wrestling match to settle things. They both go to the school's rooftop and change into their gym clothes, and the whole class watches them. Kazuya explains the rules for the match. Rules are crucial in any competition, especially one as unique as this. If Kiriha wins, she can go with the two of them to the shrine. If she loses, she needs to stay at school. Kazuya, on the other hand, must go to the shrine no matter what, and he's not happy about it. When the match begins, it becomes clear that it's not a normal arm wrestling match. There's no table for their arms, and they can only use one arm while keeping both feet on the ground. If they don't follow these rules, they lose. Well, it's not your run-of-the-mill arm wrestling match, that's for sure. The important thing to know is that someone can punch the other person in the face to win. If we played arm wrestling with these rules, it would become chaotic quickly. Kokyu and Kiriha use their arms like skilled fencers, smoothly trading fast attacks. They are equally strong and don't want to give up. Kiriha catches Kokyu's arm and pulls her in. She headbutts Kokyu hard, and everyone can hear it. But the fight continues. Kiriha finally predicts one of Kokyu's punches and grabs her thumb. Then she flips Kokyu over. It's a great use of Aikido. Kokyu is thrown onto the ground, and Kiriha wins this match. When a teacher comes, Kokyu, Kiriha, Kazuya, and surprisingly, Chisato go far away to the shrine. The spot isn't familiar to people who live here, and Kiriha says it's unfortunate because the god isn't doing a good job. While going up the mountain, Kazuya thinks that the path looks like one he's been on before, even though it's his first time here. It seems like he's seen it before, or perhaps it's not really his first time. When they arrive at the shrine, Kukuri, the local god, says hello to them wearing a no mask. Kiriha acts like she's known Kukuri for a long time and doesn't show any respect, even though Kukuri is a god. Actually, she treats Kukuri like a competitor. Kiriha even talks about the time she's won in arm wrestling against Kukuri to emphasize her point. The supposed god suddenly loses control and argues with Kiriha intensely. The sky becomes dark and rainy. The weather reflecting the mood, perhaps. Before the weather gets worse, Kazuya tells them to relax, and the two beings do the same, which makes the sky clear up. Kukuri gets calm again and is going to explain why she brought Kazuya, but then Kiriha interrupts to ask about a seal that was supposed to stay until he grew up, but it's already broken. The Tsugumomo clearly doesn't want Kazuya to know about this. It seems there's a complex history in Kazuya's life that he doesn't know about. Kukuri is saying that the seal isn't completely broken, but it's not working as well as before. Kiriha agrees and says that Kazuya's memories about the truth are still closed off. She thinks we should put the seal back on to stop the trouble caused by the Malison. Then, Kukuri tells everyone that Kazuya has a special duty to clean up the Malisons in the world. This makes Kiriha very upset, and she strongly disagrees with the idea. She even calls it a mean joke. Her reaction shows that being a Malison cleanser is very dangerous. Sadly, Kukuri isn't making a joke. The deity tells about Kazuya's role in some unusual events that happened recently. In a regular town, why do these strange things only happen when he's around? The answer is straightforward. Kukuri discloses that Kazuya is like a magnet that draws bad things and danger to everyone near him. Surprisingly, Kiriha knew about this too and wanted to keep it hidden. Kazuya is shocked and can't even say a single word. It seems like the truth about his unique abilities is hitting him like a ton of bricks. Kiriha warns Kazuya not to trust anything Kukuri just said and tries to take him away to safety. However, they are blocked by a magical barrier. Since Kiriha won't let go of Kazuya, Kokyu moves Chisato away from the danger to give herself space to use force. She says he can at least remove the source of the disaster, referring to Kazuya. Kukuri reveals herself as the goddess of water and summons water droplets as weapons. In response, Kiriha creates a shield sash to protect against the fast-flying droplets. The shield works at first, but a water javelin pierces through it. As more of these attacks continue, Kiriha reveals her wings and attempts to escape by flying away with Kazuya. Unfortunately, the effort is in vain because the magic barrier extends into the sky. Realizing there's no way to flee, Kiriha shifts her focus to Kukuri. She suspects that the goddess's power comes from her mask and decides to confront her directly. Kukuri puts up a water barrier to block Kiriha's frontal assault, but it's a trick. Kiriha uses a spiral maneuver to attack from behind and shatter the mask. However, despite this clever strategy, the deity reacts quickly enough to thwart the attack and protect her mask. It seems like Kukuri is no pushover when it comes to protecting her source of power. Kiriha is injured from the deity's counterattack, but still forces herself to stand up to protect Kazuya. Intending to end the battle, Kukuri gathers up dark clouds with streaks of thunder until a gargantuan mass of water, called the Water Impact, breaks through the sky to crush the Tsugumomo and the apparent seat of evil. The water impact floods the whole place, but luckily Kiriha makes a strong shield that keeps her and Kazuya safe. But making that shield makes Kiriha tired and small. The water goddess notices and sends another water impact. This time, Kiriha gets even weaker and faints. The shield breaks and Kazuya drowns. Kazuya comes to his senses in a dream, where he sees his mom, Kanaka Kagami, even though he doesn't recognize her. She tells Kazuya to free Kiriha from an old agreement and asks him to become strong enough to keep Kiriha safe. With Kanaka's encouragement, Kazuya figures out how to win a fight by using a powerful attack and Kiriha's full name. but we'll have to wait and see how well Kazuya does. The real test awaits in the waking world. Back in reality, Kazuya convinces Kiriha to change into her obi form, even though she thinks it's a silly idea because she won't be able to protect him that way. Despite not wanting to, Kazuya is now the boss, and he tells Kiriha, Ayasakura, do what Hess say. When he says her real name, she's surprised and turns back into a talking obi. This time, Kazuya will fight Kukuri using Kiriha as his weapon. Kukuri shoots water drops at him, and Kazuya tries to understand the obi's powers and makes a weak shield. Then, Kukuri sends a fast-spinning water wheel to finish the fight. Surprisingly, Kazuya blocks it with the obi. It seems like he's quickly learning how to use Kiriha's power, or maybe his body always knew. Kiriha praises him a bit, but the celebration is cut short. Kukuri gets ready to use one of her strongest moves, a huge water serpent from the sky. The battle is far from over, and the stakes are getting higher with each passing moment. Kazuya remembers Kanaka's advice. He uses the shield weave's water formation, not to stop the serpent, but to move it away from danger. Then, he jumps into the air using his obi like a springboard and rushes towards the goddess at top speed. The goddess quickly creates a frozen water curtain shield to protect herself from Kazuya. He realizes that his usual spiral weave won't break through this icy barrier, so he instinctively uses Layered Edge, a special move that turns the spiral into a drill. Kiriha is surprised that he knows this technique. It smashes the ice shield into small pieces. Kazuya's memories are slowly returning. Just as Kazuya thinks everything is finished, the smoke disappears and Kukuri, who is perfectly fine, has grabbed Kiriha, a human, by the collar. She is pointing an icicle spear at Kazuya's neck to make him do what she wants, so he has to agree to become the Malison Cleanser. This agreement ends the fight and the sky quickly becomes clear. Nothing else is happening, or is there something else going on? Kukuri's fighting mask accidentally falls off and she turns into a child. Kiriha sees this strange thing happen and can't stop herself from laughing at Kukuri. Kiriha makes fun of Kukuri's new childlike appearance and her lack of power without the mask. She thinks the little Kukuri is cute and decides to playfully tease her by pinching and playing rough. It's much more fun than causing floods. Later, Kukuri admits that their battle was just a trick to make Kazuya their leader and boss Kiriha around. She couldn't refuse if he used her real name. Kukuri knew Kiriha wouldn't like this plan, so she pretended to fight to give Kazuya a subtle hint to support Kiriha. Unfortunately, that hint turned into a huge flood that almost hurt Kazuya badly. Kiriha gets very angry when she realizes that Kukuri tricked her. She spins the deity like a fan turned to the highest speed to get back at her. After they leave the shrine, Kazuya carries Kiriha on his back and says he didn't want to clean up the malice, but he promises to try his best. Kiriha falls asleep holding onto his words. They have a peaceful moment under the sunset. Kukuri and Kokyu don't know what to do with their damaged home at the temple, but they're okay because things went well with Kazuya and they agreed with Kiriha to protect him. He's going to grow up a lot, both as a man and as a warrior. His adventures to follow his mom's path are just beginning. What else is out there in this big world? And that's where today's story ends. To know what happens next, comment down below and we'll see you in the next one.